Good morning. Welcome to Cool Your Heels with Lillian Caldwell. Cool Your Heels is what I call a kamikaze podcast. You never know when I'm going to come on. I also included underneath Cool Your Heels, people need help, what to do when, and things Grandma never told you, all under one general title of Cool Your Heroes. This morning, a really special guest. His first name is Torie. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I always will fudge up. But he started a coaching company called Copacetic Coaching. That part I can say is a great word because it encompasses everything. So, Torie, please give the audience a little bit of a background about you, please.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Torie Castanier. I am a polyamorous love coach. I have been practicing life coaching now for about 6 years. I love love. It's when you think about what do you love to do, the things that when you think about a career, you think about the things that you want to do that you love to do. And I love teaching love, and I love showing people how it feels to have love for yourself and to actually find love in other people. But during my journey of learning more about love, I started to dabble more into the polyamorous field because I met more people who I just recognized that monogamy wasn't for. And they tried their best to make it fit. They fought really hard at, oh, this is what I want. I really want to be faithful. I want to be with just one person. But the more I talked to them and asked them about what love looks like to them, I was like, I think you got too much love to give. And so I started to experience more about polyamory lifestyles. And then that's how I started to learn more about it. And as I experienced it, now I started to become more of a polyamorous love coach, helping people navigate either between monogamous lifestyles or if you want to dabble into polyamory, learning more about that and what that looks like for you.
Now, I was always taught that if you don't love yourself, it's very difficult to include other people or to love other people. Yes. How true is that?
So true. Absolutely true. It's like, think about love like food, okay? You can't really cook for other people if you haven't cooked for yourself yet. I mean, you can't just be like, I'm going to go and bake you a cake. If you haven't took the steps, took the preparation of actually learning how to make this cake and actually making it for yourself, tasting it first to actually determine what type of product you're giving to other people, the same thing with love. You need time to learn who you are because you are the cake. You are what you're serving to the people you're trying to be with. But until you can learn what you like to taste, until you can learn all the aspects of what type of cake you want to be, how can you truly go out there to find the rest of the baking competitions and find the love that you're seeking for? 100% internal love is important. You need it.
And along learning how to love yourself, one of the other ingredients necessary is do not lose your identity while you are loving somebody else. Now, I was married for 30 years, and I have to tell you, when my husband passed, I didn't know who I was. And Torie, I've spoken to a lot of other widows who all tell me the same thing. Why is that?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. So in most cases, and we all do this. We all fall prey to this. And what this is when we get into a relationship with someone, we stop our own goals. We stop what we're trying to do with ourselves because the only thing we're thinking about, oh my God, I like this person so much. How can I merge my goals with her goals so that we can be together? And I give you an example, Lillian. My girlfriend is actually thinking of moving out of town. She doesn't want to stay in Chicago, especially, you want to know when she talks about it the most, Lillian? When the winter time comes. You hear me? As soon as that snow started coming, or as soon as she see the weather report and they're like, it's going to be negative degrees, that's all I hear 3 hours out of the day. I can't stand it here. I need to move. I need to go somewhere, right? And so as a supportive boyfriend, I'm not gonna be like the person to say, oh, well, don't move, because that's not in my plans, because I don't plan on leaving Chicago. I love Chicago, but my life goals are here in Chicago. So I'm still working on these life goals. And I told her, because my friends always ask me, why are you supporting her trying to move? Why are you helping her trying to move? Why are you showing her these different things? Because it's still your life. And when we get into relationships with people, we have to remember we still have a life too. And we can't change our life plans just because of someone we meet. There are 7 billion people out here, Lily. 7 billion people. If you find someone that you love, you love them, you be like, oh my God, I'm head over heels. But that person's like, I don't want you to work ever in your life. I don't want you to do nothing. I just want you to sit home, take care of the kids, and help me out. You just stopped your entire life goals just because of love. And love isn't enough. And that's when people run into this situation of, oh my God, I don't know. That's where midlife crises come from my understanding, from how I perceive it. That's where midlife crises come from, when they still in that marriage, but then they're like, wait, I don't know nothing about what I wanted to do, and this is nothing about what I like. And that's where that self-love come from, because when you love yourself, oh my God, when you love yourself, you don't stop your own goals. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. I used to say, let's see, I got remarried when I was 38. And somewhere around in my late 40s, early 50s, I started complaining to my friends, how you look at it. I'm either half full or half empty, but I'm missing that half. And it
Absolutely.
took me a long time to finally figure out. That's why I started the radio station, because it was something I really wanted to do. But more important, folks, I gave myself permission to move on with my life, to do
Yes.
something rather than, and this happens all the time. So watch out. You start living your life with your spouse. That's why a lot of parents get caught in the trap of living their lives through their kids. So if the kid's great at baseball, all of a sudden they're involved in baseball. They become a
Yes.
great entertainer. They become a stage mom. There's a reason for this, folks.
Yes.
And as painful as it is, you have to recognize the signs and stop yourself and say, no,
I
this is not
usually,
going to happen.
one thing I'll tell you to do right now, if you're listening to us and you're trying to determine, did I stop doing things for myself? Get out a journal and write down all the things that make you happy. All the things that make you happy. Everything that you think to yourself makes you happy. And then when you look at that list, I want you to ask yourself, how many of these things that make me happy involve my spouse? And how many of the things that makes me happy involves myself? And now what I want you to ask yourself is, who are you? And in the same journal underneath, I want you to ask yourself and write it down. Who are you? What are your goals? What are your life goals? What is it that you yourself want to accomplish without the need or assistance with your spouse? And if you have no answer to that, then that means you probably stopped planning for you, and you've been planning for the relationship or for the marriage. And it's not a bad thing. I don't want you to feel bad about it. It's normal. Lillian, I remember I wanted to be a rapper. Okay, Lillian, I was one of those people when I was younger. Okay, and so I got into this relationship when I was younger, and the girl convinced me, almost had me convinced, because she was just like, "Oh, I'm thinking of moving to California," and I was so in love. I was like, "Oh my God!" And I was contemplating to myself, if I move to California, I won't be able to be a rapper. I won't be able to do this. But you know what? Whatever. I'll just do. I'll do whatever. I'll fix my life. And so I told my mother about that. Oh, when I tell you, she gave me the best conversation I ever needed to hear at that time. It was eye opening. And I was just thought to myself, I was like, you know what? You're right. I do need to be my own man. I do need to work on myself. But we live in this society where when you look at relationships and you look at marriages, the man is always the leader and the woman just follows behind. And so it's a big problem when the man that's supposed to lead don't even know where he's going. and the woman that's following isn't really sure the directions that they're going, and she don't have a plan for herself. So when you get into a relationship with someone, even if you're married right now, you're in a relationship, realize what is the purpose of that relationship. Way past love. Way past love. It can't just be love. Love can't be the only reason why y'all together. Having children and having a house together isn't the only reason why y'all together, because you can do that with anybody. There's 7 billion people in this world. There's 1 million people that you will find attractive, and there's 500,000 people that you would marry right now out of those 7 billion people. So to say, oh, we're just together so we can get married, have kids, and start a family, if that's your only reason, then you're going to fall in that bucket. You know what I mean, Lillian?
Oh, absolutely. I remember my son had a friend who was a young lady, and she met this guy. And I was known to all my son's friends, well, if you shut up and listen to Miss Caldwell, she'll help you, but you actually have to do what she tells you to do. And she says, well, my boyfriend is going to XYZ, so I'm planning on going to that school too. And I said, why? And he says, because my boyfriend's there. And I said, no. I said, I got bad news for you. Right now, he's very much involved with you. When he goes to college or university, he's going to meet new people. And you may not be on his new people list. So there you are, stuck in a school that's not addressing your needs or where you want to go when you graduate, which means you'll have to transfer. And that's difficult because you may or may not lose credits. Here's a better plan. Go to the school of your choice and write. If after a while he stops writing, let it go, because it means it's not happening. Or if you don't understand this, understand this. When you make a friend, if you're able to cross the stream with no resistance, that means it's going to be a good friend. If there's a lot of resistance, forget it. It's not meant to be. And she looked at me and she said, wow. And I said, don't make the mistake that he's going to be faithful for you. What are you, 21, 22, just got out of high school, whatever? I said, guys aren't faithful to ladies until they find the right one. And they may be, 2,000 years old when that happens. So you really need to plan for you.
I love how you said that too. And I love how you brought that up, because I try to tell, especially when it comes to my women clients, women can't enjoy their sexuality in society like men can. No. I can go out in the world and I can have 10 girlfriends in a month and say these relationships was terrible, I'm going to try again. And people would just look at me and be like, oh, you're a hopeless romantic. But if a woman does the exact same thing and try to explore her sexuality, she gets labeled. And that's an unfair and unjust type of thing. I have a client now who has a very, very high sex drive, okay? Very high. And she has always been in monogamous relationships, and every person she's been with has made her feel bad about having this very high sex drive. They'll get done 3 or 4 rounds, and then they'll be like, well, I mean, you want more? Girl, that's not normal. And so she heard this so much that she's just like, well, there must be something wrong with me. And so we started talking about it, and I told her, I said, well, first of all, that is just really messed up. You should never feel bad about having a very high sex drive. And first of all, I explained to her, I said, probably one of the reasons why your sex drive is so high is because you keep having sex with just that one person who's really bland, and they're not really exploring all of what you need to feel fully desired. And one thing about that is you'll never know if you don't create that multiple partner relationship sometime in your life. If you get out of high school and you marry the person you were in high school with, and that's the only person you had sex with forever into your 30s or 40s, and then y'all get divorced, I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen. You're going to end up having multiple sex partners, because you're going to finally have sex with someone else and be like, oh my God, I did not know sex was like that. Even if you play with yourself, which is an amazing tactic. You should always play with yourself. I am a 100% motivating, contributing cheerleader to play with yourself every day, because you learn about yourself. You get to learn how to love yourself. But even if you play with yourself, if you don't get to have that experience with different people to learn different things, someone's a dominant sex type, another person's a submissive sex type, another person like to lick the crevices of your toes, and you never had that before. You will never really truly get that experience to understand what fulfills you if you don't get to go out there and have different type of partners. And so, especially to the women that's listening to this, have multiple partners before you get married. I'm saying that now. Don't just be like, I'm gonna save myself for one person. Now, if sex isn't that important to you, which that's probably because you're not having much sex now, and trust me, when you start having it, it will become very important and very clear to you that your needs need to be met. But please don't get into a relationship where your needs aren't being met, because I hear it, Lillian. I hear this so many times when women are in relationships and they're like, well, I mean, he doesn't really please me, but I love him. What? Ma'am, no, you can just go the rest of your life being unsatisfied. Like, just because you love someone, if you love them and they truly love you, you should be able to have an open conversation and say, listen, you're satisfied because you don't need much, but I need much. There's more I need from you. And if that man's not listening and he's just like, oh no, you crazy, I do a great job, leave him, because he does not care about you. Because anyone who doesn't care about you having the best climax of your life isn't worth you being with anyway.
It's very difficult because our culture, our society, and let's face it, our religion pretty much dominates how you're raised and what you should be doing.
Yes.
So for a man, again, it's a different type of environment. I mean, think about this. Bastardry was finally outlawed in England in the 1970s, 1960s. And up until that time, it was okay for a British guy to go out and have multiple relationships, and his kids who were bastards, it wasn't a big deal. And it was acceptable up until the 20th century. And yet, if a woman did that, she would be arrested for being either a whore or a prostitute, or she'd be classified as an nymphomaniac or an unsafe person. You don't need me to tell you about these things.
And I'm sure that's where nymphomaniac came from. I'm sure nymphomaniac came from a man who looked at women just be like, oh my God, look at all those high sex drives. Something must be wrong. No one's pleasing her the correct way. No one's touching it. It's like if you're hungry and someone just keeps giving you a drop of water and saying, here's a drop of water, this is going to keep you alive. I mean, yeah, it's going to keep me alive, but my stomach is still empty. I need you to give me some more. And that's one of the benefits to having a poly. Okay. That's one of the benefits of having a poly relationship, because you can have that person you love, have that person that you're attracted to, and still have amazing sex with. But when you need that itch, maybe it's time for you to go talk to someone else about that itch, because be honest here, not one person is going to give you 100% of your satisfactions and feelings in sex. I mean, sure, you can be someone who gives you amazing sex from time to time, and you're just like, this is amazing. But trust me when I tell you, there's always something out there different and something out there better. And even if the sex is amazing now, in the next 10 years, if that person's still having sex the same way, it starts to dull out. I don't care how great the sex is. Lillian, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. After being married, well, I'm going to be married again in late October.
Oh, congratulations.
I became engaged, and I'm willing to go through it again. And I know what I want, and he knows what he wants. So it's very nice.
I love that.
But what I do want to talk to, they do have sister wives on television. I think they should have brother husbands. One woman with many husbands, because I think that It's about time that they do something like that. I'm really getting tired of always seeing the men with 14, 15 wives,
Mm-hmm.
but a woman can't do that. And yet, women have sexual urges just as strong, if not stronger, than men. And I think my favorite um, dream has always been, well, one man for sex, one man for cleaning the house, one
There you
man
go.
for doing the business and
There
everything
you
else.
go.
Because if you look
Yes.
at the sister wives, that's exactly how they're set up more.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I just think, do you think that because of these programs, our society, well, we tolerate it. It may not be accepted, but we tolerate. And people, there is a difference between tolerance and acceptability.
I
Do you feel that it's being presented in a right way where women can say, well, I can do that. That's okay. That's permissible?
I think, for one, I think we're getting close. We are getting close, and the only reason why we're getting close is because it's starting to become more visual, and that's what we need. We need awareness. Until you have that awareness out there, until people can start to see it more often, then it's not normalized. And when something's not normalized, because everything's about public opinion in this world, every public opinion rules over facts. Something
Oh,
can be a lie.
absolutely.
Something can be a
Absolutely.
100% lie, but because it's 100% of public opinion, it somehow became a truth. And the biggest public opinion is that a man with another man and a woman automatically makes that man gay, and automatically makes that woman a scarlet. And
Yes.
you have two different entities of negative social impacts rushing against each other, and that's one of the biggest reasons why it's not normalized. Because when you see a woman with another woman, it becomes a fantasy.
Yes.
And because that's how it's seen as a fantasy. But then you put a man and a man with another woman, and people are like, well, what? Wait, what? But why would he subject himself to that, not knowing that the man can still have another girlfriend?
Yeah.
Y'all
I
don't,
mean,
y'all
people
don't.
just, they don't go beyond by what they see,
Yes,
and they make their judgments based on
but
what
based
they
on that,
see.
ladies, if you want two husbands, get you two husbands. Okay, get you two men. Have that, because you can. Because there are people out here who are willing to have that. It just depends on the communication, the conversation. And for the men who are like, I can never be in a relationship with a woman and another man. I'm gonna stop that right now, Lillian. You ready for this one? You ready for
Yeah.
this question right here? Because all the men who say they could not be in a relationship with a woman who got another man, the only name I'm gonna say is Oprah. If Oprah walked up to you right now and said, "Hey, I want you, but you got to share me with Stedman," I guarantee you most of those men are going to be like, "Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind. Girl, come get me. Pick me up." If Beyonce called right now and was like, "I want you, but I got to share you with Jay-Z, but he cool with it." Even if you don't think you're gonna be in a relationship, just because you about to have an opportunity with Beyonce, you about to be like, "Oh my God, guess who I was?" I mean, it was weird, but I got to kick it with Beyonce. So we did it. So don't say it, because it's possible. It depends on, and this is a big thing, it depends on what you want out of the woman that you with, and it depends on how strong you see that woman. And I think that's one of the biggest perceptions, because men don't see women on that equal playing field yet. We want to believe that they do. We really truly want to believe that they do. But for me, I want the best out of my woman. I want her to be the best that she can be, and I want her to have everything that she wants. And if one day she comes up to me and say, I want a second boyfriend, okay, I can get past that insecurity, because even if she get a second boyfriend, I know I'm still here. I know I'm not going nowhere. And if she does decide that she wants to leave just because she got that other boyfriend, I'm not gonna, I'll cry tears for it, sure. But I know my worth, and I know that that was probably a stupid mistake anyway. So I'm just gonna sit back and be like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, girl. But trust me when I tell you, somebody's gonna look at this situation and be like, I want to be with that man. Because I know how well I treat my woman, and I know how great I do. And that's another thing that stops these whole polyamorous idea talks, is insecurities. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about the poly life for a minute, Lillian. There are a lot of couples that's in the poly life where the man are perfectly fine with his woman talking to other women, talking to the ex-woman. He's okay with talking to other women, but as soon as his woman be like, "Oh, there's this man that like me," nope, absolutely not. Can't do it. You can't talk to the other man. You can't have him. Only I can enjoy this lifestyle. There are couples that's in this lifestyle like that, and as I will say this, because although I'm not a fan of that lifestyle part, as long as you as the woman are happy in that relationship and you are 100% fine with it, then hey, do what makes you happy, because there are some women who are still okay with that. There are some women who's like, oh, I've met some women who's like, I only like women. I have my husband, but I only want to talk to women. And that works for them. But for some of the majority, trust me when I tell you that woman wants another man, and she is just yearning and waiting on her man to say, you know what? Okay, I'll let you talk to another man. I'll be fine with that. But that comes from insecurities. Men, we need to do a better job of learning how to love ourselves. 100%. Because
Oh,
women
I
are always
agree. I agree. I
what?
told my fiance, I said, I have a lot of men who are friends. And I said, I'm not giving them up just because we're getting hitched. And I said, if you're going to have trouble with it, let me know now.
Yes.
Because now's the time for you to walk away. I said, I'm not reinventing myself. I'm not asking you to reinvent yourself. I'm not going to change you. I'm not going to change. I have a lot of things that I still have with me. It's called baggage. You got it too. But I said, I get along with men a lot better than women. It's always been
Yeah.
like that all my life. I enjoy being in their company, have a good time with them. So please don't tell me, well, I can't see them because you can't stand the idea of going out and drinking with them or something like that, because they're
Yes.
friends and that's all
Yes.
there is. I mean, I don't stand in your way when you want to go out with a lascivious blonde, and because I trust you, and that's what we're talking about, trust.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one of the first steps when I work with clients in polyamory lifestyles is I teach them how to make friends with the opposite sex. And I tell them, you need to practice having friends with the opposite sex that you're not attracted to, and the ones that you want to have sex with, but you try to your best to keep it platonic, because you need to learn and understand that that is normal. One of the best things one of the best things about my girlfriend being able to experience this is she's able to network, meet new people, and learn more about herself, because you learn more about yourself when you get to meet more people, right? But if
Exactly.
but
Yes.
if I subject her to the idea of, well, you can't have male friends, you can only have women friends, she's only going to learn about herself through the women that she meet, and that limits the potential of who she can become.
Right.
Why can't she have male friends? Because maybe that male friend that I told her she can't talk to is a wizard with stock options. He knows everything about stocks. And because he likes my woman, he's cool with her and friends with her. Now they're about to start talking about stock, because that's what friends do. They talk about what they do. They talk about
Right.
what interests them,
Yes.
right? And so now she becomes more in tune with the world. She becomes more understanding of different perspectives about herself. And then it makes it even easier for now when she comes and talks to me. And one thing that is very important within this, but this helps build, is better communication. Because when you can talk to your partner about this type of lifestyle, trust me, because you got to get used to having uncomfortable conversations in this type of life. If you are not comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, then this ain't it for you yet. You got to get comfortable with that, because trust me, when someone come up to me and be like, hey, and I have to tell them I got a girlfriend, but I mean, if you want to still talk, I can hand you my number. It took a while for me to get comfortable saying that, because it sounded weird when I first said it the very first. I was like, wait a minute. No, I don't think I can say that. I think they're gonna just treat my life and be like, boy, if you don't get out of my face. But when it comes to polyamory lifestyles, you want friends. You need friends. And even in a monogamous relationship, you should be able to have friends of the opposite sex. And if your partner is not comfortable with it, then there are insecurity issues that needs to be fixed, because that means that that person is 100% dependent on your love. I want people to truly understand how scary that is. I really don't know, Lillian. I don't know if people really understand how scary that is. The fact that someone depends on you for their love is a scary thought.
And you know what's even scarier, which I'm trying to get him to stop saying? If anything happens to you, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh,
Or if something happens to you, I'll probably die. And I said,
oh,
don't you dare lay that on me. He
absolutely not.
said, come on, women are expected to stride on when anything happens to whoever they're in love with or whoever they're married, whether they have kids or
Mm-hmm.
their parents or a friend. They're expected to always be the internal caregiver. Don't give me that crap.
Not at
And
all.
it really bothers me when I hear men tell me that if something happens to their wives, they won't be able to make it. And I really kind of feel sorry for them that their life is so wrapped up in their wife, their spouse, that
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a life.
And that just goes back to the very beginning of what we talked about. You need you. You have to still have a plan for you. You have to still have goals for you. And that's why life coaching, love coaching, not only do I teach people love and teach them how to find it, I make sure that they still have their own personal life goals with their relationship goals. Because the number one thing I try to gauge a person on is how much do you love yourself? How much do you truly know about yourself? And who is it that you want to be in the future? Because if you don't know these answers, you shouldn't be in a relationship. I'm going to say that again. If you do not know who you are and you do not know who you want to be, and you have no love for yourself, or you have little love, you love yourself enough to you ain't gonna do nothing stupid, but you don't have that. A lot of people say, "Oh, I love myself." Here's a real test to know if you love yourself. Are you still putting yourself in situations that you know you shouldn't put yourself in because they keep hurting you? Because if you are, that's not love. Because someone who loves you wouldn't do that to you. So why would you do that to yourself? Just putting that out there. But if you're in this type of situation, you're not ready for a relationship. You're definitely not ready for a poly relationship. It starts with you. You have to know what you want to be. You have to know who you're trying to be, because then it's easier for you to know what you're looking for. If you want to be a billionaire and you want to put your name on banks, then that's going to require you to have a partner who's business minded and also wants that same thing. But because you don't know that's what you truly want yet, and you're still working this 9 to 5 and miserable, by the way, miserable, right? Lillian,
Right?
we can't forget that part. Miserable. We live miserable lives knowing that's not what we want, but we adapt to it and we evolve in misery and we just look at the sun and say, that looks nice. That looks really nice. But you don't know what you want. You just
You
know
don't
that you
know.
want to be out
And
there.
there's one other one. I told my son when he was in high school, and he was telling me about the guys who went out with a girl every week and they went to bed with them and this and that. And I said, you know what? If you're not ready for the emotional part, don't do it. And I said, what's even worse than the emotion report is part if you are not willing to step up to the responsibility of what you're doing, then you're not ready to go to bed with anybody and form any kind of relationship.
Mm-mm.
Because if you can't be responsible for you first, how are you
Mm-hmm.
going to be responsible for anybody else?
Absolutely.
And I really think that, I don't know whether you do this in your practice, but I really think that teaching high school kids their difference between love and infatuation
Mm-hmm.
really needs to be taught, because nobody really has ever explained it to them. And let's
Mm-mm.
face it, whatever wrong steps they take, they continue taking those wrong steps in college and when they
Mm-hmm.
get out of college. So between the 20s and the 30s, they're still perpetuating that myth that
Mm-hmm.
started back in high school.
Now, Lillian, I'm going to tell you something because I am 100% on your side with that. Kids need to learn young. They need to learn how to love.
Yes.
However, and this is going to sound really weird, but it needs to start with the music, the videos, and the movies and TV shows. That's where it needs to start. And I know y'all looking at me and y'all like, what? What does that have to do with anything? I'm gonna explain to you like this. Have you ever watched like 3 karate flicks back to back? Like you watch karate movies or you watch fight movies back to back, and when you finally left your house, the very first thing that you thought of when you seen someone, ooh, if that person mess with me, because mentally, all you've been watching so far for the last 6 hours is people fight. That's all you've been seeing. So now when you go outside, what do you think you're going to be thinking about the most? I'm a fight. I can fight. Now you're not going to go out there and fight someone, but in your mind, you feel like Bruce Lee just trained you on how to mess somebody up just because you watch Bruce Lee for 6 hours, right? And for people who say, oh yeah, that makes sense. So now let me bring you in. Every time you listen to love music, every time we look at television shows about love, every time you look at movies about love, everyone always have the same dialogue. I didn't learn who I was until I met you. I didn't know what happiness was until I met you.
Yeah.
I love you. And even though we have all these problems going on, and even though I'm miserable, because I love you, we're going to make this work. This is the problem, because we have this dialogue so much in all the songs, in all the TV shows, in all the movies. We sell this bull to people, telling them that once you find love, you'll be happy.
And it'll solve everything. I hated it. During the 70s and 80s, you would have the young girl say, well, look at Romeo and Juliet. And I would say, yeah, look at them. I said they came from opposite ends of the fence. Their parents didn't want them to get married because women were property and considered for advantage marriages to bring in property, power, and wealth, folks. And had nothing to do with anything. So what you have to understand is that there wasn't Shakespeare was making a point, and it was nothing about star-crossed lovers.
No.
It had nothing to do with love. Everybody knows if you are denied something, it makes it that more desirous. Yes. And that's all that happened. Yes. Christopher O'Brien wants to know, is supporting the vaccine an act of love?
Well, that depends on your love language. An act of love, first of all, let's define the act of love before we can answer that question, right? An act of love, which means you're sharing your love, you supporting that love, right? If you love the person that you with and you want them to be better, and you're supporting the vaccine because you know that's going to keep them happy, that's your act of love. Because you know it's going to keep them alive, that is your act of love. But also remember that your love language isn't the same as someone else's love language either. The way that Lillian likes to receive love, she may want gifts. That's probably her love language. And my love language is probably acts of service, right? And so maybe my act of service of, here, I want you to get this vaccine. And she's like, no, I don't want that gift. That's not my love. And so it's the same with the vaccine, because everyone's different, right? So supporting the vaccine isn't the fact of your act of love. The fact that you want to keep your spouse or whoever you love alive is your act of love. So it's not what you support. It's always going to be your actions.
It's your choice of how you view people. And if I hate saying it, the worth of that person to you, their value.
Yes.
And if their value is worth the world to you, then yeah, make sure they get that vaccine.
Absolutely.
Because it's that important to you and to them.
Absolutely.
But if you don't value that person, then it's not going to work, no matter what kind of reasons you bring out. I mean, love is one of these things. I was trying to explain love to my 8-year-old grandson. And I said, you're a lover, sweetie. You go up to everybody, you hug them, you make them feel good. If you find a kid who's not being appreciated, you bring them into the fold and you make sure everybody respect them. I said, that's love.
Yes.
Telling people you love them is not love. You're
No.
just making a statement of fact because you're not investing any emotion, but more important, you're not investing any of you
No.
into the relationship. And that is love. Christopher says you rock.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you. And one thing that's important about love, and one of the reasons why I love polyamory so much, is because a lot of people have a lot of love to give. And that's one of the reasons why we go out and we keep seeking these people. We keep seeking multiple people out, or we keep seeking that one person we want to be in love with forever. And then once we finally get them, we're like, I mean, this is great, but now I'm bored. What? Now I'm not really there. And some people have love for multiple people that they want to share. If you value a human life, you would never support. Oh, okay. I mean, I will have to do research. I wouldn't be able to talk about gene therapy because, and I'll tell you this, Christopher. I will tell you this about anything, right? Anything. There's always two sides to anything, and it always depends on a person's perspective. And so, understanding your perspective of how you see gene therapy, right? Understand that someone else has the exact same opposite based on what they learned, what their experiences were in life, and what they see. They don't know anything about your perspective. Nothing. It's like when I tell someone I'm from Chicago. If I'm not in the state of Illinois and I tell anyone that I'm from the city of Chicago, their first response is, "Wow, I heard it's really bad out there," because that is their perspective. And so to them, if someone was like, "Oh, I'm going to move to Chicago," the first question they would ask is, "Why? I heard it's so terrible out there." But that is their perspective. But people from Chicago who's been living in this area, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, what part of Chicago are you gonna move to?" "Oh, I'm thinking about the South Side." We have a different perspective, and so to other people outside, they will look at you and think you crazy for wanting to move there. But because of our perspective and our experiences, we see it completely different. So I understand how you may feel about the gene therapy of saying that the person doesn't value human life, but also understand that there are different perspectives. There are heroes and villains in every story, and it all depends on what the purpose is of what they're doing. But back to love, right, Lillian?
Right.
Love is beautiful. I have a lot of love to give, a lot of love to give, and there are a lot of people in this world who has that high drive of love and truly just they just want to share as much love as they can, and not one person can handle all that love. And that's another thing. Love can be overbearing. Love can be a lot to some people. Like I love the mess out of them. I'm like, when my girlfriend comes home from work, we don't live together, but when she pops up here from work, I will just like run up to her, be like, "Oh my God, baby, I missed you. Oh my God!" Like I'll be like one of them dogs that be like, oh my God, come play with me, come play with me." And she'll be like, "You need to calm down. You need to calm down. You are too hyper." And I just like, "Love me, come play with me." Sometimes I may have too much love, and then she'd be like, "You need to go see some of your other friends who will be excited to have that type of love that you want to experience." If you are always in a monogamous relationship and you feel like you are always bored, you may want to seek out polyamory. If you still are in love with the person you want, but you randomly be like, "Oh, I just want more," but you feel bad about that you want more, you may want a polyamorous relationship. You just probably just don't know how to express that. There are a lot of ways to determine if polyamory is right for you. But the number one question that will always resonate is, are you capable of loving more than one person? Period. That is the biggest difference between a person who can handle a monogamous relationship and a person that can handle a polyamory relationship. Because when you dig down deep, when you get past the sex, when you get past everything, when you get past the life goals, love is still there. And a lot of people, because of their perspective of love, cannot fathom the idea of loving another person or even their spouse loving another person. But love isn't enough. It's beautiful. Being able to share your love with one person, I get it. But just think about this for a second. I want you to be in my perspective for a minute. Think about the love that your spouse or your ex or the person you with right now, think about the love that they give you. Think about how great that feels. Okay. I want you to put yourself there with me. Get right there in that love that you receive, right? Now imagine being able to receive that from more than one person and not feeling bad about it. Because for one, I still need to be able to love myself. And let's think about love. Let's think about love like this, right? This is all my love, okay? This is all my love right here, okay? And so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give out some of this love to my girlfriend, right? But I still got all this love right here. Like it's still here. There's a lot of love to unpack right here, okay? And I love the fact that I get to share love with multiple people, and we can have you can have a platonic relationship with someone and still be in love, okay? So I don't want you to think just because you love more than one person it has to be sexual. It's not the case. It's just the idea of having those emotions and being able to share it and have different experiences through love. Lillian said it. You said it earlier. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Oh, about a woman wanting multiple people and everyone having their place. Not everyone has to be sexual. Just because you see a woman with two husbands, that don't mean that both of the husbands is always giving it to her at the same time. We have to stop looking at it in the sexual aspect of things, okay? This is the love. This is what we share when we talk about polyamory. Sex, that has nothing to do with it. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it's so hard to have a platonic friend in the opposite sex is because of, we said, public opinion rules, right? And so now because I went outside with another woman and they know I got a girlfriend, automatically, oh, he's sleeping with her. Look how happy she looks. Look how she's smiling. Oh, they definitely doing something, and the woman don't even know. That's based off your perspective because y'all watch too much TV, but it is possible for a man and a woman to love each other and be great friends and still be platonic. Just like it's still perfectly normal for you to love more than one person and just have sex with more than one person. Your life is entirely too short to be miserable. Lillian, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I really think that a large part of it is most people need to learn how to give themselves permission to do things because nobody else is going to let them. If you go and say, Father, may I, Mother, may I, they're going to say no. Mm-hmm. And if you go to somebody like your spouse and say, well, can I do it? Chances are jealousy and a couple other things are going to rear their ugly head and they're going to say no. So what you have to do is say, is this important for you as a person to make yourself happy? Absolutely. And if it is, then you need to follow it through to what will make you happy, because isn't that what everybody really is saying? Make yourself happy?
Absolutely. And that, now I remember one of the points I was getting to. If you yourself can't make yourself happy, if you can't learn who you are and love yourself for you, it's going to be hard for you to give that love to someone else that they need. Because if I'm looking for all that love out of you, that means you won't be able to give that love to yourself. In order to give someone all the love they need, and it doesn't matter monogamous or not, in order to give someone all the love they need, it means you're going to be sacrificing some love for yourself.
And that's not true.
It's not. You don't need that. It's not.
I told my kid, the grandkid, I said, love is infinite.
Yes.
You don't have it in small little qualities. Either you love or you're incapable of letting it flow out the gates.
Yes.
And you're the one who has to decide whether you're going to open up the gates to the dam or parcel it out. I mean, I've been through, my father said to me, I don't love you anymore because I'm giving all my love to my grandson. Or my husband says, I don't love you anymore. I love somebody else. Well, guess what? You either love
or you don't.
You love across the board.
Yes.
Or you never really loved in the first place, or you don't know what love is.
that is where hate for exes come from, because when you break up with your ex who you were in love with, you try to deny the fact that you're still in love, because you think just because y'all both decided we're not together no more means that y'all still don't love each other. No, you have already built that emotion. That emotion is there every time. That's the reason why when we see our exes we feel weird. We're like, oh my god. But you should embrace that, because I still love my exes. Now, would I say that I'm in love is in passionate? No, absolutely not. I'm able
You
to
can be
create those.
in love, but it doesn't mean you love her with a
Yes,
capital L.
yes,
And that's the difference. I
yes.
mean, look at Henry VIII. I know he was oversexed, whatever you want to call it. He went through 8 wives, and I'm sure he would have kept on going if he had started out younger. That's who he was. And for us now to judge him 400 or 500 years later and say, well, he never loved any of them, he did.
Yes, yes,
But
he
it was
did.
in a different capacity than what we in modern civilization can allow ourselves to say. He had a polyamorous relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's the kicker.
There's
That
and there's
is
different
the kicker.
and there's different stages of polyamory. You can be in a relationship with a person and it's just y'all two, and all y'all do is just openly date other people. Okay, and that can be a polyamorous relationship. You don't have to bring anyone in. It don't have to be okay. Let's have a boyfriend. Let's have a girlfriend. Let's have a couple. Y'all can just date other people solo, and it can still be an open polyamorous relationship. But whatever the case may be, when it comes to if you're trying to start this path of a polyamorous relationship and this is the goal you want, the one step that I'm going to tell you is before you take this step, one, have a serious conversation with your partner about expectations, boundaries, and rules. The 3 things: expectations, boundaries, and rules. You need to have that conversation with your partner. If you're trying to start a polyamorous relationship, or even if you've been in one for years, if you've never had a conversation about expectations and rules and boundaries, it's you're gonna always have issues. There's always gonna be problems, because think about owning a company. A company has a mission statement and a vision statement, and every decision that they make in their business practice falls to the mission statement. Is this business decision that I'm going to make, does it match the mission statement, right? Okay, so you and your relationship, y'all need a mission statement. What is our boundaries? What are our rules? And where are we going? What are our goals together? Because I know right now, I can tell you, me and my woman, we want our name on the bank. That's our goal. We want to have our name on the bank. I want someone to be like, oh, where you bank at? Oh, I go to Copacetic Bank. Okay, cool. I know about that bank. That bank gives out great loans. That's what we want. So we have that goal, we have that purpose, and we're working on that with each other, because that's how you strengthen your one-on-one relationship, by having those goals, working together, continuously starting something new with each other every year, learning new things, continuously taking yourselves out on dates. And as long as you're doing that, and then you still say, I have enough energy to also do this with someone else, then there you go. Welcome to the polyamorous lifestyle.
Okay. We need to wrap it up.
All
So
right.
if you could please tell Torie, everybody, where they can find you with your contact information,
Yes.
please go ahead.
Absolutely. So if you want to hit me up, first of all, I have free coaching that I do every week on Sunday at 7 p.m. But you have to go to theofficeent.com in order to get that information. Because I'm on Facebook if you look up the Office ENT. But if you want coaching, one-on-one coaching, talk about polyamorous relationships, go to www.copaceticcoaching.com and then go ahead and sign up for a free consultation so we can talk about what coaching looks like for you. If you want to call me directly, my phone number is 312-448-8111. No matter where you live, we can do virtual coaching. And trust me when I tell you, I've helped so many people find love. I've helped so many people create purposes in their relationships. And that is one thing that I love to do, teaching love and helping people define and create multiple purposes.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this morning with Torie and talking about his copacetic love.
Absolutely.
because it's important that people know that it's all right to have more than one partner. Listen, if you've been married 5 or 6 times and divorced 5 or 6 times, let me tell you, you've already been there. I mean, maybe the court doesn't quite look at it that way, but trust me, you got 5 ex-husbands and you've gone to bed with every single one of them. Go and explain that to your kids when they want to go to bed and why they really can't do it because. So please, you can find us on Facebook.com/Passionate World Talk, on YouTube.com/Passionate World Radio Network, underline PW Talk Radio. You can find us on LinkedIn / Passionate World Talk Radio. Our website is passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can find it posted there. So thank you all very much for joining us. We enjoyed having you. If you have any questions about Torie or haven't gotten all the information, email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com. Thank you all very much and have a great day.
Have a great day.